Good morning and welcome to the December 10th edition of the Gold, Goats, and Guns Short News. Got a lot to talk about. And today, I want to talk about Brexit. And I've said from the beginning that Theresa May's goal was to betray Brexit thoroughly. And the whole point of all the negotiations, and I use air quotes, for the past 2.5 years have been to do nothing but eventually run the clock out to the point where May would put a Hobson's choice, a no choice really, in front of the British Parliament that would wind up with a deal that gave the EU complete control over the UK while still having a Brexit in name only. That's exactly what they've done. That's exactly the deal that's on the table. And now the main question has been whether or not there would be enough support in Parliament out of fear that Labour would take over after the deal went through. And then that would be the thing that would propel her to be able to force this thing through Parliament. So to back up a little bit, think of it this way. This is a deeply unpopular deal with everybody except basically Remainers and most of Labour. The Democratic Union Party doesn't want it. The Northern Ireland Party doesn't want it. Most of the Tories don't want it. UKIP certainly doesn't want it. And most people in Britain don't want this. So what May has been trying to do is play the political calculus that she could scare Tories into voting for a deal, because if they didn't vote for this deal, her government would fall, and most likely then after snap elections, Labour would take over, and then a different deal and then a very similar deal would pass through a Labour-dominated parliament, and that would be that. And that was the Hobson's choice that they were in the fine line she's been trying to walk for the last 2 years. And I firmly of the opinion that she engineered her own bad situation in Parliament with last year's snap elections, because the Tories had a tremendously strong majority, and then she ran the worst political campaign I've ever seen. She ran a worse political campaign than Hillary Clinton. And I firmly believe that she was betrayed in every way she was told by the British deep state and the people and the permanent bureaucratic class in the UK that did not want to leave the European Union. That it was her job to call snap elections, campaign badly, and then mysteriously have a rash of terrorist attacks hit London at the same time as she's campaigning on irrelevant issues. Put nothing past these people. Certainly don't put anything past British intelligence. So when you look at all that, she was supposed to lose that snap election. And the DUP, the Democratic Union Party, saved her. And then she had to put together a coalition government that was just barely an issue. It was just barely enough for her to stay in power. But now the problem shifted, that they had to swing votes over the Irish border. And then the whole Brexit talk and that's why the Irish border all of a sudden became an issue, because now they had to somehow figure out a way to keep the DUP on board. And then they could play the Tory split against everybody and try and push this thing through. Meanwhile, all the EU had to do was step back and say, we're not negotiating anything. You have to give us all we want. And Theresa May just basically rolled over and played dead. And that's what's been going on for the last 2 years, and it's really tiresome. And everybody was just, okay, I'm just tired. They don't want us to leave. Hopefully we'll just vote for another. Just push it through, and then we'll deal with the fallout later. I don't think that's going to happen now. Her canceling the vote on Parliament on the deal is a clear admission that she played this political calculus wrong, and then now the EU is in trouble. And that's what's really interesting here. You know, you asked me last week or even a week and a half ago what I thought was going to happen, and I was really pessimistic. Matter of fact, I've got an article coming out for Newsmax in this month's Financial Intelligence Report handicapping all of this, and I still don't think we're out of the woods. But that being said, you look at what's happening here, the EU is now going to have to come Britain's way. And the minute they make any concessions whatsoever, the Tories, backbenchers, the Brexiteers, the Jacob Rees wing of the Tories will now gain power. They will gain prestige. Okay. Now Boris Johnson apparently can walk back onto the scene, and all of a sudden everything looks difficult. Same time, France is on fire. Italians they're mobbing Matteo Salvini in Rome like he's the second coming. Okay. Everything is changing quickly. And these people look all powerful when they really aren't. And once that air of invulnerability that the EU has had in all these state-level negotiations, all these recalcitrant states, Greece, Portugal, Spain, Italy, Hungary, Poland, the Brexit, all of it, once that air of invulnerability is popped, the whole thing collapses because it's nothing more than a paper tiger. All of a sudden, everybody stands up and goes, look, the emperor has no clothes. Look, Juncker's a drunk. And Merkel's ex-Stasi. And everybody works for George Soros. Once that's gone, everything changes. And so the EU here, if they move at all, they know they're in serious trouble. I think that's really fascinating. Really do. And the pound is reflecting this morning. Personally, I think the pound dropping here is the best thing that could ever happen to the Brits, because it actually is the main problem here, that the euro is that the pound is too strong relative to the euro, and this is fueling German exports into Britain and causing a hollowing out of the British economy, and of the productive portion of the British economy that's not clearing financial transactions, i.e. City of London stuff. The real British economy is in serious trouble, has been for years, and it's been being hollowed out purposefully by the European Union, by Germany. Germany's been hollowing everybody out for the last 25 years through the mechanism that is known as the EU and the single currency. All of that has to end. And so the pound falling here is in Britain's favor. Got to rebalance this stuff. This is why they're seeing better balance of trade numbers since the Brexit vote, because the pound came down from $1.40. It's not down to like $1.26. And the euro has fallen as well, and the pound has fallen more than the euro has, because the other side of this is that the EU is desperate to keep the euro up at a certain level, lest the bondholders start selling. Because once the euro falls below a certain point, now all of these carry trades, these currency swap carry trades, and all this crappy European debt, those all start to unwind. That's what's going to happen. And they know what the structure of these markets. And then the whole thing starts to collapse, and collapse fast. What starts as murmurs and shrugs and, well, okay, we'll just go along to get along, all of a sudden turns into violent protests in France over a, relatively speaking, not a very big tax on diesel fuel, to full-blown AIDA. Very interesting. And we're witnessing, I think, the beginning of the end of the European Union, the beginning of the European sovereign debt crisis that we've been talking about here on this channel for close to 2 years now. Very interesting. So that's why Theresa May had to bring home the bacon. And I'm telling you, at the end of the day, she's going to be reviled by everybody. That's her job. Her job was to portray this, exit the scene, and be hated, and have everybody hate her, but not hate the EU. I don't know that that's going to work. This has been the Gold, Ghosts, and Guns short news for Monday, December 10th, 2018. If you like what you heard today, please give a like and subscribe down below. That'd be fantastic. Also, click the little bell for notifications for when I go live, which will be tonight at 8 o'clock and Friday nights at 8:30. You can also follow my work over at my blog at tomluongo.me, as well as my Twitter feed at TFL1728. And you can support my work on Patreon if you so choose. That would be great as well. Patreon/Gold, Goats, and Guns. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon, and keep your stick on the ice.